we've just received the Epstein files, and they were almost entirely redacted. A couple of pictures of Bill Clinton, no mentions of anybody else, everything else blocked out in every image, and one letter that stood out. Maria Framer's letter to the FBI in 1996, that she feared for her life because the photos that she'd taken as an art piece of her younger sisters was stolen by Jeffrey Epstein and sold around and spread to other powerful people as a form of pedophilia and child sexual abuse. And that she was threatened by him, that he would burn her house down if she ever told anyone about this. And she went to the one place that she thought she might be safe with, the one place that might bring this to justice, the FBI. And they hung up on her mid-phone conversation. And that letter, that document about what happened, has laid in a desk unlooked since 1996. I want to remind you that this is not a conspiracy theory. This has nothing to do with pedophilia. This has nothing to do with children and the lack of public information. The fact that this information has been redacted again and again, that we have not been informed, because that is not the issue. Information is not power today. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is not about how some global elite is able to disillusion and warp truth and create a system where they are so invulnerable to any repercussions. That's not what this is about. Because that is an idea that only comes up as an absolving of personal responsibility. It says that in the face of the 30 years that this has gone under the radar, unreported, with no justice being done, with nobody saying anything, what power do I have as an individual in this society? What could I possibly hope to change about this incredibly broken system that is so tightly controlled by a small group of powerful people? That is the brain's default to absolving itself of responsibility, because change would be too hard. Because a full system rework is outside of our conception. But that is what this is all about. The problem is not that these people want to do terrible things with their power. The problem is that any group of people has this level of power without supervision, without jurisdiction, without oversight. That a small group of people's wills reflect the wills of the many. And that the wills of the many are twisted and distorted, that their truth is not able to be seen. They are made powerless. The solution here is not justice. The solution here is not repayments to the victims. The solution here is not empathy. The solution here is full system change. We cannot allow a system that allows any group of people to have such unvetted, overpowering authority over the masses. And this is the trap that we fall into every time, because it always becomes more efficient for one person or one group of people to just decide all the paths for the greater majority. But the reason that we have democracy is not because all the people have all the best ideas in the world, that they are all the most informed. We know that they aren't, but we have democracy because that is who the system is for. The only reason we have democracy, the only reason we have any of these systems of organizing people is for people. That is why we have a democracy. That is why every person has a vote. That is why every individual should have equal power, because every individual lives within that system. Not because they are the wisest, the most knowledgeable, the people who make the best decisions. We create that because it's efficient, because it gets us to what we think the answer is quicker. And look where that's gotten us. The system was not made for you. And the system was not made for a group of powerful elites either. The system is a result of its constraints. The system is a result of each individual law that places slightly more power in those that, in a smaller and smaller group of people, because that becomes the most efficient thing. Instead of every cell in your body deciding what to do next, we separate it into individual systems, and one brain decides what's most efficient for the whole system. The core algorithm of life, efficiency. Get more energy than you burn. That applies to every cell within your body, and then it applies to greater functions. Your blood, your lungs, your heart, your brain. And those apply to a level of efficiency of the individual, of your whole self. And that applies to a level of efficiency within a system, within a society, within an ecosystem. There are layers of efficiency. And what we see today is not any one individual's decision to go down a dark and evil path, but merely a reflection of the most efficient path presented to the system that we have. We've created these guardrails, and it has shaped us into this position. That is all that this reflects. Not on any one person who can be blamed, who can be brought to justice, and then the system will be fixed, but fundamentally the system itself. And we do have the power. We have the power to change our systems. Nelson Mandela was so influential and such a powerful leader because he was not disillusioned by the idea of justice, by punishing people for the bad things that they've done, but he looked at the fundamental mistake with how the system was designed. And that's what he changed. He changed the fundamental system, the fundamental nation, and the way that we look at ourselves as South Africans, the way that we interact with each other as South Africans. And that's what he changed. And that is how we were able to find change and evolution so much faster than blaming individuals, than blaming evil cabals of evil people and bringing them to justice. That is not the problem. That is a symptom of the underlying problem. Those are the surface level cancerous sores on the skin. They reflect the deeper pain and illness that afflicts our current system. We need fundamental, full system change